Imagine the heart of London, 1971. A bustling city, unaware that beneath its streets, a gang of audacious thieves is about to pull off one of the most audacious heists in British history. For months, they've been digging, planning, and watching, until finally, they break through into the vault of a prestigious bank on Baker Street. Millions of pounds in cash and valuables lie just beyond their reach, and the authorities have no clue until the morning after. How did they manage it? What secrets did the tunnels hold? And who truly benefited from this shocking crime? London, 1971. The city was alive with its usual hum. Red double-decker buses rattling over cobblestones, black cabs weaving through the throngs of commuters, and shopkeepers calling out to early morning customers. Yet, beneath this bustling surface, a quiet tension simmered in the air. Crime had its own rhythm in the city. The pickpockets in the underground, the daring jewel thieves in Mayfair, and now a new crew plotting something entirely unprecedented. A heist that would make the headlines for years to come. This was no ordinary gang. They weren't the type to storm a bank with guns or masks. No, these men had a different kind of patience, a meticulousness that bordered on obsession. They studied London like a chessboard, mapping every alley, every security routine, every weak point in the city's banking network. And for months, they had their eyes on one target. A prestigious bank tucked away on Baker Street, its vault rumored to hold millions in cash and valuables. Each member of the crew brought a unique skill to the table. There was the mastermind, a man with a sharp mind and a knack for planning every minute detail. The logistics expert, who could acquire tools, maps, and even construction permits without raising suspicion. And the diggers, whose stamina and precision would make the impossible possible. Together, they were a team built for one purpose: to tunnel into the bank undetected. The plan was audacious, bordering on insane. They would dig their way from a nearby property, working quietly in the dead of night, inching closer to the bank's vault without alerting anyone. It was a task that required patience, courage, and a certain disregard for the ordinary rules of law and danger. Every night brought small victories. A few inches gained here, a breakthrough there. Every day demanded vigilance, blending into the city as though nothing was happening beneath their feet. The stage was set. London went about its business, oblivious to the shadows moving beneath its streets. And as the gang prepared for the heist that would shock the city, the tension between ambition and risk began to build, because in a plan this daring, even the smallest mistake could prove catastrophic. The success of any great heist isn't in the daring alone. It's in the preparation. And for the Baker Street gang, preparation was an art form. They didn't rush in with crowbars or getaway cars. They studied, sketched, and simulated every step of the operation long before a single shovel hit the ground. Their first challenge was the bank itself. From the outside, it appeared unremarkable, a sturdy building blending into the quiet street. But inside, the vault was a fortress. Thick steel doors, multiple locks, and intricate security measures guarded the millions within. To the untrained eye, it was impenetrable. But the gang saw it differently. They saw opportunity. Every window, every ventilation duct, every service entrance became part of a mental blueprint. They spent weeks observing routines. When the bank opened, when staff changed shifts, even when the cleaning crew passed through, every detail mattered. Parallel to their surveillance, the team tackled the logistics of tunneling. They identified a nearby property as the starting point, a seemingly innocuous basement that would allow them to dig undetected. Using basic tools disguised as everyday items, they began small-scale test digs, refining their techniques and ensuring they could quietly remove soil without drawing attention. Soundproofing measures, disposal plans, and secret storage for removed dirt were all meticulously organized. The goal was simple in theory: reach the vault. In practice, every inch of progress required ingenuity. Maps were drawn and redrawn, marking obstacles, measuring distances, and noting structural weaknesses in walls and floors. They calculated angles, load-bearing beams, and the direction of utility pipes. One misstep could bring the tunnel down or alert the authorities. They also rehearsed contingencies. What if a neighbor heard suspicious noises? What if a construction permit triggered unwanted inspections? Every what if had a pre-planned response, showing the extraordinary foresight of the crew. As the days turned into weeks, the tension grew. The tunnel, their hidden pathway to unimaginable wealth, became a symbol of both possibility and peril. They were no longer just planning a heist. They were committing themselves to a high-stakes gamble where a single mistake could undo months of meticulous effort. Yet, for them, the risk was part of the thrill. And by the time the first breakthrough into the bank itself was near, London remained blissfully unaware that beneath its streets, history was quietly being written. By now, the tunnel was no longer just a concept. It was a living, breathing extension of the gang's plan. Every inch of soil removed, every foot of progress measured, and every creak of the wooden supports became part of a rhythm that carried them closer to the vault. But digging was only one part of the challenge. Equipping themselves properly and overcoming unforeseen obstacles would test their ingenuity and patience like never before. The gang's toolkit was carefully curated. Ordinary tools disguised as everyday items allowed them to work without raising suspicion, while specialized equipment, shovels, drills, and pulley systems ensured efficiency underground. Even simple innovations, like using sacks to quietly transport soil or dampening hammers with cloths, proved vital. Every item was chosen to keep the operation invisible, every procedure rehearsed until muscle memory took over. Obstacles were inevitable. Pipes ran through unexpected sections of the basement, hard rock slowed progress, and the constant threat of discovery loomed. At one point, a neighbor nearly noticed unusual activity, forcing the crew to improvise a cover story and pause the work for several nights. Yet, these challenges only sharpened their focus. Every difficulty became a problem to be solved with precision rather than panic. The tunnel, in essence, had become a test of patience and discipline as much as a path to wealth. Time was another enemy. The longer the dig took, the higher the risk of detection. Balancing speed with caution became a fine art. The gang worked in shifts, timing each movement to avoid suspicion from neighbors, deliveries, and the occasional patrol. Nights were long and claustrophobic, illuminated by faint lamps and the occasional whisper of encouragement. Every meter gained brought both excitement and anxiety. As the tunnel neared its ultimate target, the bank vault, the tension reached a fever pitch. Months of meticulous planning, sleepless nights, and endless calculations all boiled down to the next breakthrough. For the gang, the vault was more than money. It was the culmination of ambition, skill, and audacity. One final push, one last test of nerves, and the stage would be set for a heist that would shock London and etch their names into criminal legend. The night was pitch black, yet the city of London slept unaware of the drama unfolding just beneath its streets. In a quiet basement near Baker Street, the gang gathered for the final preparations. Every tool was in place, every map consulted one last time. Months of planning had led to this moment. The tunnel had reached its final stretch, and beyond the last foot of earth lay the vault, millions of pounds in cash and valuables, waiting silently. The crew moved with practiced precision, each step calculated to avoid making a sound. The air was heavy with dust and anticipation. Their breaths, shallow and controlled, were the only rhythm in the claustrophobic space. The tunnel walls, reinforced with wooden beams, creaked under the pressure, a constant reminder that a misstep could collapse their path or alert the unsuspecting world above. As the first breakthrough into the bank's foundation occurred, a hush fell over the team. Using small hammers and careful chiseling, they created an opening just large enough to peer inside. And then, finally, the moment came. The vault loomed before them, a solid steel sentinel guarding untold riches. The gleam of polished metal reflected the dim light of their lamps, a silent challenge daring them to breach it. The gang paused for a heartbeat, letting the magnitude of their achievement sink in. All the surveillance, the rehearsals, the sleepless nights had led to this exact point. It was a heady mix of adrenaline and fear. One wrong move could send them tumbling back into the tunnel or worse, trigger an alarm. Yet the thrill was irresistible. Every member of the crew understood the stakes, and every one of them felt the magnetic pull of the fortune within reach. They began the delicate process of testing the vault's weaknesses, listening for faint clicks, tapping for hollow spots, and carefully maneuvering tools into place. The night stretched on, measured in tense minutes, as the gang inched closer to their goal. Outside, London remained oblivious, its streets quiet, its residents asleep. Underground, however, history was being written, one careful, daring move at a time. The tension in the tunnel was almost unbearable. Each tap against the vault door echoed like a gunshot in the confined space, each tiny vibration sending a shiver through the crew. Months of planning, countless hours of surveillance, and endless nights of digging had all led to this moment. The vault wasn't just a door. It was the final test, the last obstacle standing between them and a fortune that could change their lives forever. With nerves taut, the crew began the careful process of opening the vault. They probed for weak spots, listened for subtle differences in the metal, and slowly maneuvered their tools into the precise positions they had rehearsed countless times. Sweat ran down their faces, not just from the physical exertion but from the weight of what was at stake. One wrong move could trigger alarms, collapse the tunnel, or alert the bank's security. The room outside was silent, the world above oblivious, yet every second felt like a lifetime. Finally, a soft click. The vault door shuddered, then gave way just enough to allow the team inside. Their hearts pounded with excitement as they pushed the heavy steel aside, revealing stacks of cash, bundles of documents, and safety deposit boxes overflowing with valuables. The air seemed to crackle with possibility, as if the treasures themselves acknowledged the audacity of the thieves who had reached them. Efficiency was key. The crew had no time to dawdle. Bags were filled, valuables carefully handled, and every item accounted for. They moved like a single organism, each member knowing exactly what to do, guided by months of preparation. Challenges arose: the weight of gold bars, the narrow confines of the tunnel, and the constant fear of discovery. But the gang pressed on, balancing speed with caution. As the first light of dawn crept through London streets, the thieves finally retreated into the tunnel, laden with their prize. The city above remained blissfully unaware that a historic crime had just been executed. In those quiet moments, the crew felt a mix of triumph, relief, and the creeping realization that the fallout was only beginning. They had done the impossible, but now, the consequences of their audacious gamble were about to unfold. By morning, the streets of London were alive with confusion and disbelief. The Baker Street Bank had been breached, but no one had seen the thieves enter or leave. Employees arrived to find a vault emptied of millions, security untouched, and the city in uproar. News spread quickly. How could anyone pull off a crime so audacious, so meticulously executed, without leaving a trace? The police were baffled. Forensic teams combed the building, searching for fingerprints, footprints, anything that could reveal the culprits. Neighbors were interviewed, tunnels were scoured, and every possible lead was followed. Yet the gang had left almost no evidence. Their preparation had paid off. The authorities faced a humbling reality. They were chasing shadows, while the thieves had already vanished into the labyrinth beneath London's streets. Meanwhile, the media had a field day. Headlines screamed of the tunnel heist and the Baker Street robbery, painting a picture of criminals as clever as they were daring. Public fascination mingled with fear. The story captured the imagination of Londoners who marveled at the audacity and skill of the thieves. Experts debated how such a feat could be accomplished, while ordinary citizens speculated on the identities of the perpetrators. As weeks turned into months, the gang quietly divided their loot. Some invested in new businesses, others disappeared into obscurity, always careful to avoid attention. Despite the thorough investigation, arrests were few, and convictions even fewer. The heist became legendary, not just for the money stolen, but for the audacity, intelligence, and nerve it displayed. In the end, the Baker Street Bank job wasn't just a robbery. It was a story of ambition, precision, and risk. It showcased the extremes humans will go to in pursuit of wealth and the lengths to which they will plan to succeed. For London, it was a wake-up call. Beneath the familiar streets, audacious schemes could unfold, unseen, changing the city's narrative forever.